what I'm getting at is I need to get back to having 100% clarity. Like, I need clarity on what it is I'm doing, because it's like, you know, like if you have some kind of destination, you need to know, like, where are you going. If you don't know where you're going, you're just driving around. I need clarity again. Originally, my goal was I wanted $200,000 a year after taxes and passive income. It could be from real estate investing, it could be from dividend stocks, but that was my goal. And every day I was working towards improving that goal. What happened was I got immersed. I immersed myself in real estate. I had a bunch of rental properties. That was the best route, to be honest. I had almost $8,000 a month in income coming in at one point. That was probably if I would have just stayed on that path, I probably would have been fine. But what happened was I started to find value in like peace of mind, because I had so much going on with our it was actually taken away from the business. I had the business, family, real estate. So I decided that I'm going to sell these houses. I ended up selling them in 2022, August 2022. I can't believe it's already been almost 3 years since I sold them. But that's right before they started raising the rates. And all the information I read and watched over the years, I thought, I'm going to time this perfect. I'm going to get rid of these. I didn't time it too bad, but ultimately, I shouldn't really have cared about the value of the home, because really I was just focused on the cash flow. So I could have just stayed in the houses and had the cash flow. I didn't have any loans on them. But what I'm getting at is I want to get back to clarity about what I want. So I'm getting back to I was just saying this a couple of videos ago. I take the froth off the top of the quantum stocks and I put it into this dividend income strategy that I have, which I'm still not sure if it's the best strategy, but the only three ETFs I was buying is SCHD, JEPI, and JEPQ for income. Now, this is not something I would recommend to anybody in their 20s or even 30s. Because really your money's going to compound and grow so much faster if you just keep it in like the S&P 500 or some, VGT or some type of ETF. These aren't going to compound your money at like a very fast rate. These are more to provide a drip and income. But this is also not the best strategy tax-wise, because you're going to have to pay taxes on the income. But what I'm trying to do is create some type of safety net that I have set up now, because I have a different type of situation. I have a lot of expenses, and I have my own business, and the lifespan of the business is unknown. The changes in technology, advertising, it's literally day by day. You just don't know what's going to happen next. So for me, I need to get that income stream set up as a safety net to prepare. I like to be ahead of things, just in case. But I'm going to continue on my strategy of keeping 10 to 20% of my account, my portfolio, invested in these Hail Marys. These are like my high flying, and I don't really see Bitcoin as my Hail Mary or something extremely high risk. I know it's categorized as that, but I have a portion of my portfolio in Bitcoin also and some other cryptocurrencies, but my main holdings I want to have in the dividend strategy. But I currently have slightly more than 20% in quantum. And that's my long-term Hail Mary, go big or go home, gamble. It's not financial advice. This is just what I'm doing. And then I'm going to pull any gains from those quantum stocks, if they ever do, or crypto, and I'm going to put it into my income fund to hopefully one day to get to $200,000 a year in income from passive dividends. We'll see. I don't know if it's possible. See, I gotta watch my own words, because step 2 is having 100% belief in the goal. So step 1 is having clarity, knowing what the goal is, like definiteness of purpose. Like, all right, wake up every day, I'm gonna get $200,000 a year in income passive. I'm gonna get $200,000 a year in income passive. And then step 2 is believing it. Like knowing, oh, I'm going there. Like I knew when I started this YouTube channel, I said I'm getting 100,000 subs. Go back and watch the video. I had 10,000 subs. I said I'm going to do this just to show that we can get to 100,000 subs. So it's like having the belief, and then the belief drives the action. You wake up each day and then you take the action. But the next thing I was going to touch on was, I was going to say, don't ever have codependency in your goal. Because I've seen it a lot with like people and things. Don't ever wait around for another person or feel like you need the other person. I'm not talking about your spouse or something, because they can be your strongest partner. I'm talking about like, you're like, oh, me and my buddy are going to start this landscaping business, but your buddy never calls you and talks about it, and you're like just waiting around for him. Don't do that. It's like two heroin addicts trying to quit heroin at the same time. It's not going to happen. You know what I mean? You got to just focus, set your goal, and you go chase it. And because what happens is, like I said, everybody thinks you're stupid till you're successful, then you're a genius. Then they all want to be part of it, or your friend, or meet up, or, you know what I mean? So just do you. That's why I roll around like a lone wolf. Because if I start meeting up and hanging out, I don't got time to chit chat about this stuff. You know, I just want to keep rolling. I just want to keep doing my thing. I mean, it's good to have friends, you know what I mean? And make time for relationships and friends. But what I'm saying is, when you have your goal and you're set on your goal, focus on your goal and don't try to attach some other person to it, or if someone else is trying to attach themselves to it, I just don't do that. You know what I mean? I roll solo in my goals. But you need people to grow your goals, if it's a business or things like that. I'm not saying not to have a team or things like that. I'm talking about in the beginning stages, when you're getting it off the ground. If you're one of those people that feels like you can't do it by yourself, or if I only had this guy that would tell me the steps, or if I only had this mentor that would just hold my hand so I felt safe, that's not going to happen. You might get lucky and find some angel mentor that just like is bored and wants to guide you a little bit, but they're never going to put the time and energy into something that it needs. They're not going to water the plant enough to make it grow. They might give you some little tidbits and things, but if you're waiting around for the next piece of information from them to get going or to get started, stop and just start today on your own. You got to do it solo. You're going to be alone. You're not going to be with some guy doing it together and you guys are struggling in a garage like Steve Jobs and Wozniak. You know what I mean? I mean, maybe you will. I'm just saying the chances of you right now getting something going because you're reliant on another person is slim to none. You got to just do it yourself. So for me personally, I'm riding dirty. No, I'm riding solo when it comes to my goals. And I don't know if that's the best information, but advice. Some people might say, no, that's not true. You need a team. You do need a team when you build something, like a business. You definitely do. That's the ratio. Like I said, 1 to 1, 1 to 10, 1 to 20. The more people you have rolling with you, the better. But I'm not talking about when you're trying to facilitate the dream and the goal, and you just planted the seed and it's buried under dirt. You know what I mean? That's like burying this is equivalent to burying two seeds together and putting dirt on top of them and watering them. And watering them different amounts and intermittently. They're not going to grow together perfectly. Do you know what I mean? The chances of you just having one seed and you growing it, and then when the plants flourished and there's vines coming off, then you can start adding buds on the plant, on the tree. But you're the trunk, the foundation. You know what I mean? Like, you built the main thing. Then you add the little extra stuff. You add the people. That's how you grow it. But I'm talking about when it first starts growing, the chances of you doing it together with someone else, or I'm just saying if you're codependent and reliant on another person, stop doing that. I'm just trying to touch on all the little things that might have held people back from starting a business or starting something or a goal. They wait on their buddy, like, dude, meet me at the gym. Oh, he didn't meet me, I'm not going. Like, you know what I mean? You gotta be a lone wolf, dude. You gotta be like solo out here, just doing your thing. I don't know if you guys know, but the stock market's closed today. It's Thursday. It's in a day of mourning for President Carter. He died at 100 years old. Without the goal, you're just wandering around. Like Zig Ziglar said, be a meaningful specific, not a wandering generality. It's like if you don't find a place for the money, it'll find a place for itself. So that's why I need to get back to my goal that's my goal. I'm going to write it on a piece of paper. It's good too. Write your goals down like on a piece of paper, like in the morning and at night, because it embeds it like in your subconscious mind. And when you're going to sleep and you're starting to fall asleep, the time when you're like falling asleep to when you're asleep, they call it theta. That's when Edison came up with all his ideas. So maybe repeat the goal in your over and over and over and over in your mind while you're falling asleep, instead of something negative. So I'm going to start doing that. My son was getting out of the car. I said, I got to start doing that, dude, because I haven't been doing that. I haven't had my goal locked in. I've been a wandering generality. I had this YouTube goal, but as far as my finances, I just been kind of wandering, honestly. I let my emotions get a hold of me. I'm like, I might sell a little quantum, take froth off the top. I didn't have like a locked in plan. That's what I'm getting at. We got to have a locked in plan. The stuff I'm talking about, I'm not talking about it to make a video. I'm literally just, if I wasn't filming, this is exactly what I'd be thinking about and driving around thinking to myself about. Like, all right, I need to get back on my plan. I need to get my dividend income plan back. Because when you have the plan, you start to operate differently. So I have my plan, I'm thinking, God, I've been spending a lot of money lately. I could have been banking that money, putting in my dividend income fund and going on Simply Save Dividends, and each day seeing, did it go up? Did my income go up? I'm going to do that today, guys. I'm going to log in. I'm going to set my account back up so you guys can see it. Right now, the only thing I'm holding for income is SCHD. I'm on the fence if I want to add JEPI and JEPQ. I know earlier I said I had JEPI and JEPQ. I sold out of them before I bought the car because I needed to replenish my cash position. So I sold some quantum. I sold out of them. I think I added that in the video. But I replenished my cash position, so I have a pretty good chunk. And then I bought the car, and I only got a little bit left. And now I'm trying to decide what's the best strategy. And I'll explain to you why I'm on the fence about adding JEPI and JEPQ if you're not familiar with those ETFs. SCHD is a basket of 100 stocks. SCHD has certain criteria. This is Charles Schwab, is the one who created this fund. The expense ratio is 0.06%, so it's so minimal that you're not paying some astronomical fee to some money manager. It has 100 stocks in its basket. Each one has a certain criteria. They've had to have raised their dividends for a certain amount of years. I believe it's 10 years. They have to have a certain amount of free cash flow. They have, there's certain criteria. Their yield has to be a certain, they have to have increased their yield a certain percentage. So I like SCHD. For example, its dividend of 3.4%, it varies from 3.4 to 3.6 depending on the share price. It's at times it's been over 5 when the stocks crash. So that yield, that dividend increases on average like 10 to 12% a year. Last year it increased 12.24%, I believe. So that means if you had $100,000 in income coming in, not $100,000 invested in SCHD, that would only give you $3,400 in income a year. But if you had $100,000, just for easy math, invested in SCHD, that means it would go up 12%. So let's say 2024 you had $100,000. 2025 you're now getting $112,000. See? And also it's taxed at one of the lowest rates that income can be taxed at. It's taxed even lower than real estate income, but real estate has the benefit of being able to write off your expenses before you pay your taxes. That's the benefit, just like a business. That's the benefit of a business too. But SCHD or any kind of qualified dividend is taxed at long-term capital gains rate, which depending on your income bracket can range from 0. If you're in a really low income, you could pay 0 taxes on your dividend income. It can range all the way up to me. I'm in a 37% tax bracket. I'm going to pay 20% on my dividends. But the average person maybe going to pay 10%. If they're in like a 20% tax bracket, they're going to pay like probably 10%. You can just look up long-term capital gains rates or qualified dividend tax rates. So now that I explained a little bit about SCHD, the reason I'm on the fence about adding JEPI or JEPQ is that JEPI and JEPQ, they produce a much higher yield. So if you invest $100,000, you get $100,000 in income from them. If you invest $100,000, for easy math, the opposite of what I was saying about SCHD. JEPI, for example, has a it varies, but 7.7% dividend, let's say for easy math. you're going to get $7,000 a year from $100,000 invested in JEPI. Where SCHD, you're going to get $3,400 if you had $100,000 invested. You get what I'm saying? Because SCHD's yield is 3.4%, JEPI's yield is 7%. But here's the kicker. Okay? This is why I'm like always on the fence about adding JEPI or JEPQ. SCHD's yield, we said it grows every single year. 10%, 12%, whatever. JEPI has a higher yield, starting yield, but the yield does not grow. The yield is 7% forever. So unless you're reinvesting your dividends to buy more shares of JEPI, if you were to invest $100,000 in JEPI, you would get $7,000 a year in income. Well, if you were never to invest any more, and you were never to reinvest any of the dividends to buy more shares, you'll forever have $7,000 a year in income from JEPI. It'll fluctuate, it'll go up and down with its volatility. But the problem with that is that $7,000 today might buy you a used 1995 Prius, but $7,000 in 5 years from now or 10 years from now might not be able to buy you any car. Do you get what I'm saying? Because the purchasing power decreases. So even though JEPI has a higher starting yield and can boost your yield and make you feel confident like you have more income coming in, unless you're reinvesting your dividend, your income or your purchasing power is decreasing over time. Where SCHD, for example, has a starting yield of 3.4%, but it increases by 10% a year. So you can do the math, like just ask ChatGPT. How long would it take? Oh, there's another kicker. Hold on. There's one more kicker. I'm going to hop out. The other kicker is that JEPI's yield is not qualified. And remember we said that SCHD has a qualified dividend. So SCHD's dividend is taxed at a good rate. Well, JEPI's yield, oh, check out the hood. I'm rocking a Carrera hoodie, baby. Carrera kid back in the streets talking about dividends. The Carrera cash flow kid. Carrera quantum cash flow homeless. I'm going to be the homeless guy out here talking about quantum. Yeah, man, I had all this quantum, bro. I had all this quantum. Why do we like crypto? Why do we like quantum? Is it the name? We just like saying the name? I got some crypto, bro. I got some quantum. Probably not a real good reason to own it, right? But what I'm getting at is, everybody's looking at me. What I'm getting at is, I don't care. Just make sure you spell the name right. Daily Driven Porsche, baby. So what I'm getting at, I'm jumping all over the place, is that JEPI's yield doesn't grow. JEPI's yield is taxed at ordinary income, or portion of it. Only a small portion of JEPI's yield is taxed at qualified dividend rates. So what I'm getting at is, you really think that you're getting a better yield. I'm talking myself out of basically having JEPI and JEPQ because it's deceiving. You make yourself believe like, okay, I have $100,000. I can just put $100,000 into SCHD, and you know what's going to happen? You put $100,000 into SCHD, and you're getting $3,400 a year. You're like, this freaking sucks. You're like, I've saved $1 million, and I'm getting $34,000 a year. Do you get what I'm saying? Or you're like, let me add JEPI and JEPQ. Now you're getting a 6 to 7% yield with those three: SCHD, JEPQ, JEPI. But guess what? The first year you're like, man, I am making cash flow. I've got $100,000. Now I'm getting $7,000. I've got $1 million. I'm getting 70. Okay, I can live now. I can live off my 70. It seems great. It's like that instant gratification. But if there's let's say brother A has just SCHD and brother B has that combo, eventually over time, maybe 10 years, 12 years, I think it's around 12-year mark, that SCHD will surpass JEPI and JEPQ. But you need to track not before taxes, it needs to be after taxes. That's what I was going to explain, that the JEPI yield, it's a 7% yield, but if it's taxed at 37%, what's 37% minus 7? Do you get what I'm saying? But the 3.4 from SCHD is only taxed at 20%. So they get closer to each other after taxes. It's deceiving.
But what I'm getting at is over time, brother A is rolling with SCHD, and SCHD is compounding and growing every year, 10 to 12%, your dividend income. Eventually, your yield on cost is going to surpass JEPI, and it's going to surpass JEPQ, and your purchasing power is going to sustain with the rate of inflation. If you have a qualified dividend, ETF, or companies that grow their dividend annually. So that's why I'm like, that's originally why I was doing real estate, because I was like, it's so much better. I get more income with the money I have invested. But I really want a true passive investment and not an active investment for my cash flow fund, my cash flow strategy, I guess you'd say. But let me go in here and get this monster. But hopefully I'm not jumping all over the place and you guys are lost. I'm basically just thinking out loud. What kind of music they got on in here today? I told myself I wasn't going to get a monster today, but I guess it's better than getting a Budweiser. Now, none of this is financial advice. None of this is good for like a kid in their 20s or 30s even. Like, there's no point in you investing in like dividend income fund because you're going to have tax drag. Just put your money in VOO, like S&P 500. This isn't financial advice. I'm just saying. And then maybe put a small portion of it in crypto or quantum or something that's a risky thing. Don't put all your money in the risky thing, you know? I know I repeat the same things in a lot of videos, but this is stuff I'm repeating in my own head. So for me today, the big thing I'm taking away today is clarity on my plan, clarity on my goal. Because, you know, it's so easy to get distracted. The end goal isn't to have a bunch of cars. It's really not. For me, the end goal, because it's right now, it seems so cool. You got these cars and all this stuff. But when SHIT hits the fan and things aren't so good and the business sucks or you lose your job or COVID happens or something like that, you don't care about the cars. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm glad I got the 993 coming. I'm not saying I'm super grateful and thankful and excited about it. But I got to be honest, deep down, I'm thinking, man, that 285, how much SCHD income am I losing? Or that 285 is a single family home that gives me $2,400 a month. Well, not after property taxes and insurance, but $1,200 a month. You get what I'm saying? That 285 is 12 grand a year. Your money can go way further with rentals, it can. That's why I always come back to them, but I need to have a little extra headspace so I can get my business going, do this YouTube channel and stuff like that. So I want my investments to be passive, like dividend investments, and also I want it to be structured in a way that when something happens to me, or if something happens to me, my wife and kids are fine and they're like, oh, this money just comes in and hits the bank account. Boom, 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 every freaking quarter. That's the other thing. JEPI and JEPQ pay dividends monthly. SCHD pays dividends quarterly. Ooh, hear those turbos? Oh, I wanted to look up that. Oh, I already passed it. I wanted to look up that Gulf Coast Motorsports. Like, maybe I shouldn't stage 3 tune this. Maybe I should take that money and bank it. That's what I'm getting at. We got to get back to the goal. When you have the clarity of the goal, you don't do this. You don't do the little things. You just, everything goes to the goal. Everything goes back to the goal. So what's your goal? You know what I mean? Someone commented this morning. I wake up at like 3 in the morning sometimes, and I just looked at my phone, and he said, well, he left that one at like 4 in the morning, for 5 in the morning. He said, how old should I be before I spend $150,000 on a car? No, how much should I have saved up before I spend $150,000 on a car? Shout out to whoever left the comment, because I just wrote, honestly, I have no clue, and I'm not really like the authority on the subject, because I spent money on cars when I was like in my 20s. I think he said he was 24, and I just wrote, honestly, if I could go back to when I was 24, I would invest every dollar I have. I'm so pissed at myself that I did not invest everything and not care about the car, not care about any of that stuff in my 20s, and instead wait till I was older till I got the stuff. Because the money you have, like your 20 grand or whatever you have that you're going to put down on the car, if you bank that and invest that, you're going to be able to buy the car cash in 10 years. You know what I mean? Maybe. I don't know. But you know what I'm saying. But you don't want to just blow the money you invested on a car. Once you get into the mindset of, I'm investing everything, I don't care so much about the car and stuff right now. You're like, even Grant Cardone. You guys look at Grant Cardone. He talks about real estate on YouTube and stuff. If you really go back and look at his story, he drove like a Camry or something in his 40s. There's like videos of him. He was like in his 40s, late 40s, driving like a Toyota Camry. You know, like I drove a 2001 Corolla with an exhaust leak. Then the next car, I had like a car when I was like 20 something. I had a WRX. After the WRX, I sold it. I got a Toyota Corolla. And I got married and had my son. I drove a Toyota Corolla for like 7 years. And after the Toyota Corolla, I drove a Camry. After the Camry, I drove a Highlander. Then after that, that's when we built our house and I got that Jeep Grand Cherokee. And then I didn't get the M5 until I was 36. Do you see what I'm saying? So I don't want you guys to get confused and be like, oh, he's had cars or he's buying cars. He was young and he's buying cars. I was 36 or 37 before I leased that M5, and that was the dumbest financial decision I ever made. The lease was like $1,300 a month. It was the dumbest thing I ever did. And then I got this car. The only way I got this car was because I bought a house. I bought houses on auction.com, and then as they went up in value, I bought these houses for $100,000 to $150,000. I sold them all for like $330,000. I paid half the money in taxes, but that's how I was able to get this car. I was like, you know what? All these years, all this hard work, I'm just buying this car. I just bought it. You know, like I bought the car. But I'm not saying that that's something that people can do. I'm just throwing out there that if you're 20-something, dude, forget the car. You know what's going to happen? You're going to get the car, okay? Because everything has a newness phase. You're going to get the car, and the car is going to be like so fun at first. After like a year or 9 months, you got this big payment coming in, and you got to freaking wake up every day and go to work because of the car. And then you're going to be all pissed, like, why did I get the car? You're going to be thinking to yourselves, like, as I'm taking pictures of the 911. But I told you, this is different. I'm 40 now, and I've sacrificed for all those years not getting anything or doing anything. All I was doing was working nonstop. You know what I mean? People were going out to bars and stuff. I was working. I was working as a mechanic, and then I would come home and work at night. I was doing stuff, hanging out with my friends. Like my brother and I would meet up every now and then and go to this place called the Phoenix in Ellicott City, Maryland. I think it flooded and it's gone now. But we would go there, like, get wings and stuff. But I'm saying, like, I wasn't, like, going out all the time, you know. I was working. But in my 20s, I was, I guess. My early 20s. All I'm saying is, think hard about that car. Because that $150,000, I don't know if you have $150,000, or if you're saying, how much should I have saved up to get $150,000? What's the Walking Dead out here? I gotta be careful. Who knows who could be up in these bushes. I'm just saying, maybe think long and hard about the goal. If the goal is to have the car because you like the way it feels, you love the sound of it, you like the way it makes you look, I don't know. But if the goal is to have financial freedom and truly have peace of mind, I'd invest the money. I went through this already. I sold this car to take the money and invest it to try to increase my income number because I got so obsessed with dividends. And then I flip-flopped after watching thousands of hours of videos. And I watched every single Berkshire Hathaway meeting. I watched every single one. I listened to every single Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett book. I listened to every single book that Buffett recommended, like Where's the Customer's Yachts. I listened to every book Munger recommended. I listened to Charlie's Almanac. I listened to Richard's Almanac, the one Thomas Jefferson. I listened to all the books they recommended, all their books. I listened to all their meetings, everything. And what I took away from it was you can either buy companies that compound, have a return on investment capital, have a high return on investment capital. That's what they do. They invest in companies that have a high return on investment capital. Or I can invest in an ETF and dollar cost average it. That's what I took away from all those books. Those were the two things. So then I flipped. And I went and I got all into just passive VOO, just dollar cost averaging the S&P 500 And I had some select companies that had a high return on investment capital that I would buy when the price looked like they were right. And I got into intrinsic value. That's the other thing I took away. I listened to The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham. I got obsessed with intrinsic value. And I was using Alpha Spread to try to determine and another one called valueinvesting.io. These are two websites I used. And I would buy stocks that were below their intrinsic value. But they had good revenue, they had high return on investment capital. And I got obsessed with this stuff. But then what happened was I watched all the AI and all this other techie stuff just take off with no fundamentals behind it. Total hype, total momentum, investing, crypto, everything just taking off. Then I listened to Paul Tudor Jones, Bill Ackman. I listened to all these people. And basically what I took away from them was the market is fundamentally broken. No longer do fundamentals even matter. But then, so then I thought, okay, well then what am I going to invest in so I can make money in this momentum investing? So then I took my time and I said, what's next? What's after AI? So then I got obsessed with going on ChatGPT and just talking with ChatGPT. I pay for the 4.0, and ChatGPT basically said quantum's next. And then I randomly saw a podcast where that physicist with the long hair was talking about quantum. Then I started hyper learning about quantum. And then I asked ChatGPT. Throughout this period, I also listened to One Up on Wall Street by Peter Lynch. I listened to 100 Baggers. I listened to the 100 Baggers author's YouTube channel and all his videos. I listened to Manish Babrai and all his 10x and 100x information and recommendations. Then I went back to ChatGPT and I said, give me all the criteria of a 100 bagger. Any stock you've ever seen 100x in history. I think Monster Energy Drink was actually one of them. Dunkin' Donuts 10x, Legs. These were ones that Peter Lynch had. But Manish Babrai, he's had a bunch of 100x. He's had some 100 baggers. So I never in a million years thought I'd have a 10 bagger. But I got a 10 bagger with Rigetti. That was kind of cool. Well, not anymore, but it was. I did sell some off, so I did hit it got to 1,600%. So it was almost a 20 bagger. So a 20 bagger would be the stock 20x'd, so 2,000%. So these guys have had 10,000% returns, which is insane, right? I mean, you've seen it in crypto, but you haven't really seen it in stocks that often. People think they're going to just invest. Some guy at the gym, dude, tell me about a stock or something. You think you're going to invest and you're just going to make money overnight. Do you realize the average 100x happens over 26 years? Do you see what I'm saying? So it's not like when we're buying this quantum stock and Jensen comes out and makes a statement from NVIDIA and it tanks and everyone's like, I'm done, I'm out of quantum. It just seems like stupid to me, because these things are you commit to something and you got to do it you got to just hold it for 20 years. You really want to experience a 100 bagger, we got to hold this for 20 years, like you said, 20 years, quantum may come to fruition. This is where you need to, if you want to have a 100 bagger, you need to get in place 26 years before it 100x's. None of us really have the patience to do it. I don't. I always sell in and out of stuff. That's why I've told myself I'm not getting out of these quantum stocks. So no matter what happens. So I'm glad I started this channel, so now I hold myself accountable. But what I'm getting back to is that I was into the VOO, passive investing, dollar cost averaging. Then I got into intrinsic value. I was buying single stocks and obsessing over buying companies below their intrinsic value. Then I thought, wow, the market's fundamentally broken. AI is skyrocketing while really good companies that make income are losing and going down in value. It doesn't make sense. So I thought, well, if I can't beat them, I'm going to join them. So then I thought, okay, I want to get into these high-flying, fly-by-night, make a lot of money overnight stocks. Then I went deep down that rabbit hole and I discovered the 100 baggers. Then I got obsessed with the 100 baggers. So then I thought, okay, why can't I combine the two? Why can't I find what's next, what's the hype tech, and what could 100 bag because it's so low of a market cap? So then I obsessed over the quantum, and then I put the criteria that I learned from all the book, actually 100 baggers, that book. It's called 1 to 100 or 1 in 100 or something like that. There's two of them, but it's the same author, I think. No, it's two different authors. those books have the criteria, like the criteria of a stock that 100x'd. Its market cap was never over like $1 billion. It's freezing out here, guys. If I'm talking weird, I'm like shivering because I'm holding this cold monster. Its market cap was never over $1 billion. Sometimes not over 500 million. So that was my first criteria. I need to find a company that the market cap is below $1 billion. Okay. Then I was like, okay, I need to find a company that is going to be in a growth path. And I was looking at AI stuff. I was looking at data center stuff. I was looking at software related things to automation. I was looking at what was I looking at? I'm trying to think of some of the names. APLD, I think, was one of the tickers. I can't remember. It's been a long time. This is a while ago. I was looking at Snowflake before Snowflake popped off. I was looking at I can't remember. I was looking at like Big Bear AI, Airship AI, Resolve AI. Like, these are still going to be, I mean, maybe these are things that are already pretty big. I don't know. I haven't looked at them in a while. But then after listening to that podcast and learning about quantum and how far away it is, I thought, man, this is where I'm going to set myself up. I'm going to hunker down here. I'm going to get some of these quantum stocks, and I'm just going to stay here. You know what I mean? And this time I'm not selling. And I'm going to see if I can get a 100 bagger. So that's what I'm doing with like a small portion of my portfolio. So Rigetti, D-Wave, and IonQ. Quantum Computing Incorporated was the last one I bought, and originally I knew why I didn't buy it, and I forgot, and then I jumped in it out of hype. And then yesterday when I was going over all the quantum stuff, I realized Quantum Computing Incorporated is a great company. I don't know a ton about them, but they do software, and I really want hardware and full stack, like hardware and software. I just feel like it will grow much faster than just a software company. Also, software, I mean, look how many software companies you've seen come and go. The hardware ones seem to have a little bit, they stick around a little longer. But yeah, so that was my original, that's how, I'm just explaining to you guys how I landed on the quantum. It's not like I just woke up and I was like, oh, I'm just going to buy these stocks. These look cool. You know, that's why when sometimes people come to me like, dude, do you own this or do you own that? I'm like, I've already gone through down this rabbit hole for so many years and looked at so many different companies that I'm like, I honestly don't like owning single stocks. I just want to have just these couple quantum ones as my bet. And then I just want to have, like, if you watch Manish Babrai, he only makes a couple bets. You can't go betting on a bunch of different things. Like right now, I don't know if he still is. I'm going to actually go back and watch his channel today. He's into metallurgical coal. Like METC is one of the tickers, METC. He's into metallurgical coal because coal, people hate coal. Coal got crushed, with the green stuff. But metallurgical coal is needed. That's what we use for steel production. And you guys know we need steel. I mean, look in Dubai, like half the world's cranes are there. They're building buildings nonstop. So he's into metallurgical coal, and that's like his big bet. And he says like just the cash flows from the companies will cause the share price to rise. Man, the car looks good right here, the lighting. Yeah, so I want to have, but my main goal, I'm getting clarity on my main goal again, and that's to get back to focusing on building up my dividend income. So if something ever happens to me, or my kids are set, they'll be okay, so that's my goal. But I'm also holding these quantum stocks because I'm thinking if I could get them to even just 10x, then I can just sell them and put them all into my dividend strategy and be pretty well set up. Still wouldn't be set, but we'd be set up pretty good. Look at the car from when I picked him up from Crew. I gotta clean this thing. Manish Babrai is also betting big on Turkey. Because remember the lira crashed? It lost a lot of its value. He's betting big on Turkey. He made a lot of his money, his 10 baggers were with Indian company. He's Indian. But he invested in America too. He lives in America. He lives in Austin, Texas. You guys know that School of the Hard Knocks guy on YouTube that goes around and asks people like how much you make or what do you make in a year? He goes up and interviews people. I was watching one of his videos and he was knocking on people's doors in Austin, Texas. and he knocked on Manish Babrai's door. He was going door to door. Like, I was watching the video, and he knocked on his door, and Manish Babrai opened the door with, like, gym shorts on. And I don't think the School of the Hard Knocks kid knew who he was. And he was like, I'm okay. He's like, thanks, though. And he's like, all right. And he's like, have a good one. I don't think he knew who he was when he's, because I saw him, like, that's Manish Babrai. I might not even be saying his name right. I've emailed him a bunch of times. I've sent him emails of stocks I thought were, this is when I was obsessed with intrinsic value. I found some that were way below their intrinsic value. They were like shipping container companies, and I found they had like a contract coming up. It was actually Toro. I think the company was Toro, not like not the lawnmower company, but the shipping company. And the other one was Zim at one point. And the Zim one went way up too. But I emailed it to him, and his receptionist, I guess, emailed me back and said he loves tips and things, and thanks for sending it over, and he'll take a look at it. But who knows if he really does? I don't know. Maybe I could get him on the channel. He wouldn't want to talk to me. He's Charlie Munger's protege. He met Charlie Munger. Actually, what he did was he paid for a dinner with Warren Buffett, and he won. It was an auction, and he went out to dinner with Warren Buffett, and he got along with him so good that he actually said, I think he might have said, like, who's a better he asked the question, who's a better dinner partner, you or Charlie, or something like that. And then he actually set up a dinner with Charlie, and then he got to know him, and they got along really good. And then they started going to like the social club or whatever in Los Angeles, and he would meet up with them like once a week, and like a group of old guys that were investors, and like he would just learn things from them and talk to them, listen to their stories and stuff. So if you like Charlie Munger from Berkshire Hathaway, his favorite stock was Costco. If you like him, check out Manish Babrai, because he's got some good Charlie Munger stories on YouTube. But these guys, they don't just invest in a gamble. You know what I mean? They do their research. They figure out what the company's worth. They look at their assets. Like Buffett, he found companies before where the assets of the company are worth more than the market cap. You know, we're not just like jumping on there and buying some fly-by-night thing. They would actually do their research, and that's what I was really getting into. And then I felt like the market was fundamentally broken. But what I want to come back to is that in the short term, the stock market is a voting machine. So it feels broken when you see all these things flying up and doing so great, and they're not making money, but they're skyrocketing. But in the long term, it's a weighing machine. So even though it feels like it's fundamentally broken, ultimately the earnings of the company and the profits and the revenue will dictate the share price. So what I'm trying to get to with this whole thing about saying the market's fundamentally broken, I'm not saying go buy a bunch of AI stocks. What I'm saying is, have a small portion of your portfolio that you do the gambles like I'm doing with quantum or AI or whatever it is, where the companies aren't making money and there's no way to know or tell how big they're going to be. There's really not. You know what I mean? You're speculating. Have a small portion of your portfolio that speculates, so you can have that feeling like you're in those ones and they could pop off at any time, and you have that feeling. But make the core holdings of your portfolio based on fundamentals. You know what I mean? Whether it's you're buying the S&P 500 because of its track record of its annual rate of return, or you're buying single stocks that are below their intrinsic value, or you're buying single stocks that aren't below their intrinsic value, but they have such a high return on invested capital that you're like, wow, they're growing. Costco's an example. Charlie Munger's number was 18. So what Charlie Munger said was, if you go back and look at a company that has a return on investment capital of 7%, and then you go and you look at a company that has a return on investment capital of 18%, he said, you're probably going to find over 10 years, the one that had a 7% return on investment capital averaged around that annual rate of return. And if you look at the one that had 18%, you're going to find that it averaged a higher rate of return than the one that had 7%. So he would look at return on investment capital. They would look at free cash flow too. But honestly, I was obsessed with free cash flow, thinking that was the holy grail. But if you just have a ton of free cash flow, but you're not reinvesting it to grow the business, what's the point of the free cash flow? Look, they got E85 there.
E85. It's cheaper than gas, regular gas.
You know what I mean? Like if they're not reinvesting the money and growing the business, free cash flow is great. But that's why a lot of these, that's why some people don't like the high dividend paying companies, because they're like, they don't have any room to grow. They got to pay out. They have to pay out their profits to the shareholders because they don't know where to invest the money. I've jumped all over the place in this video, but what I'm saying is, key takeaway points. If you're young, start investing right now. If you're young, don't buy a car and get all fancy and waste your money on that. Just put every dollar in investments. If you're young, or anyone, don't put all your money in some fly-by-night, skyrocket Hail Mary thing where you lose it all. Make sure you have your core holdings in something that has some kind of fundamentals behind it, or slightly safe, or produces income. The next thing, takeaway is, don't try to hold someone's hand to create your goal, to conquer your goals, or create your business, or whatever it is that you're chasing. Don't hold someone's hand and try to bring them along with you. Just do it. Go get it done. Don't wait for somebody to help you do it. It's not going to happen. The next thing is, figure out what your goal is. Make sure you get real clear about it, and then believe 100% that you're going to get it. And write it down, and think about it while you're falling asleep at night, and obsess over it. And you might just watch it come into fruition, little by little, each day. The other thing is, I want to say this because I forget to say this sometimes. Don't get burned by confirmation bias. And what I'm saying is, I was just thinking to myself, I remember Buffett saying, you picking single stocks and then you having like some massive win with the single stocks, it's amazing, but he doesn't look at it like annually like that. The chances of you doing that every single year for 10 years is slim to none. Just like in my last video, I showed you guys Warren's bet, how he bet $1 million that these hedge funds couldn't outperform the S&P 500 over a 10-year period. The reason the S&P 500 outperforms everything, it's the standard, it's the market. The reason it outperforms is because it's the top 500 companies, and it'll always be the top 500. So the best move up to the top, and then the money's allocated more towards the best companies. So it's automatically investing in the best companies, you know? But you can have wins over that. Look at that Volkswagen van. You can have wins. You guys, you know how I'm always up here at the, oh look, that 991's still here. You know how I'm always up here at the Porsche dealership? What if you guys found out, I work here, I'm a mechanic up here, and I just like test drive the cars, and this isn't even my car. GTS 4.0. Yeah, so don't get burned by confirmation bias. Like that happened to me. The quantum stocks went up. You know, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm so smart. And then you go and you're like, oh, what else am I gonna select? Because I'm so smart, I can pick everything. And I can pick it right. I want to go in there and look at that 3.2. They're not going to believe me. Oh, you know what? Wear a hoodie on. I don't look like I should be up here. I don't look like I belong. So just create a plan and stick to it. You guys open?
We are.
How you doing?
Not doing a lot.
Is this for sale or is it a customer's car?
It is not for sale. We ordered it from Europe for summer.
Okay. Where'd you order it from?
Italy.
Oh, Italy.
It's rebuilt by Germany.
The 3.2?
Yes.
It's nice. A 3.0. I want these kind of cars now. Getting a thumbnail. This is nice, but he just told me, he said it doesn't have the G motor. It has an E or an F. 128,000 if anyone's interested. 2014. How many miles? 36,000 miles. These 991 GT3s are cool looking though, aren't they? I love the front. Woo, it is chilly out here. He was telling me when I get the 993, he's like, you should bring it to Cars and Coffee. But he was I was showing him the pictures. He didn't think that the gauges on the car, the 993 I'm getting, are original. But I think they are original. Everything's supposed to be original in that car. Well, guys, thanks for watching and thanks for subscribing. I'm gonna hop off. I'm gonna head over to the gym and then get this day started. Appreciate you guys watching. Shout out to everybody. Super grateful for you guys. You have no idea. Oh, you know what? Before I hop off, I see a 997. Let's go over here and see what it looks like. There's a 991 Turbo S, blue color. I'm gonna get kicked out of here, dude. Two 997s. I gotta go through the tunnel. They're gonna kick me out of this place. I'm up here every day. 964. Oh boy. What do we got in here? We got a 964 Cabriolet. I like that. That is nice. Oh, he's waving me in. We got a 9 GT2 RS 991. He thinks I'm getting service. How you doing? I got a loop. Yeah. How's it going? Want to be on the channel? I got a YouTube channel.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Daily Driven Porsche.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I just got my second car for the channel. I got a 993.
Nice.
1998.
How long you been doing that?
I just started the YouTube channel like a couple months ago.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
cool.
Yep.
All right.
See you, man. Oh, so you guys know me as the camera guy.
Yeah.
I gotta.
We're thinking, is he scouting out? What, he stealing that?
I know. I know. I said on the video, I said I'm gonna get kicked out of here. No, I'm just Porsche obsessed.
Well, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. See you, man.
Enjoy life.
Take it easy. They thought I'm scouting the place. I think I said that in one video. Man, that GT2 RS was nice. Did you guys see that red one? That red one was nice. I think I'm done coming up here. I'm getting a name for myself. USA Tools. Alright guys, I will see you on the next one. Oh, look at that wheel. Wonder what happened there. That doesn't look fun. The wheel looks alright. Can't tell. Alright guys, go get it today. Brand new day. Get your goals set. That's what I'm trying to do. If you gotta sit quiet, sit in a quiet room, figure out what your goal is.